The Metaphysician's Companion.
Good afternoon, John. How are you today?
Good afternoon, Graham. I'm feeling well.
That's good. So we were talking about what we should talk about today, and I thought we were talking about symbolism, and I'm guessing people think, wow, symbolism, what's that got to do with metaphysics? Well, there's a lot, actually. So perhaps we get started on that one.
Symbolism, yeah. It's like in mythology and that. These are, to me, the symbols speak directly to the subconscious, or they speak, it's a way of getting past the intellect.
So, you're going into a church and you look up at a stained glass window and it has a message. Now, listeners have to remember that back in the day, most people couldn't read or write. So,
they were very literate with the imagery. They could, look at the stained glass windows and read the stories.
Yeah, so the story was there in the stained glass window because they couldn't read or write. So that's part of the indoctrination, for want of a word, that they received. But I think also one has to remember that symbolism can come through various things like art forms and music as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I was telling you when we were sitting down having a bit of lunch about the painting. Well, it wasn't a painting, this artwork that I saw a couple of years ago where they specialise in actually Chinese art, and they done a picture of, the artist had done a picture of the Himalayas, but it had been done with pinpricks. And myself and a friend of mine went up to it, and it knocked us over with the energy that was coming out of that picture. Because that was my reaction to it, yet somebody else that was with us didn't feel a thing.
Yeah.
So it's about the individual reacting to it.
It's the engagement. It's like I was saying, you read a sentence in some great novel and respond to it emotionally. And that response may not necessarily be what the author intended. Particularly for a very old work. They were writing to a different audience, and a modern-day audience responds on modern-day sentiment. And so I suppose what I'm saying here is that the act of reading in that sense, like great literature, looking at a piece of art, hearing music, is we engage with it and respond, and it's our response to that artwork that's important and significant.
So I think what we're saying here that everything is about an internal response to something you view, but of course you have to be in a state of mind where you allow yourself to accept that response.
Oh yeah.
Because some people don't want to know the response.
Talking about states of mind, though, I was reminded of like going into a church, for example. You change your behaviour, you change the way you're thinking. It's like I said, I quote Philip Zimbardo, he's a psychologist. That prison experiment was one of his famous ones, but never underestimate the power of the situation to govern behaviour. And that is that, you enter a church and you might speak more quietly, or you might behave more demurely, or whatever it is, the actual, in these cathedrals in Europe, when you go in.
Well, I remember I told you about the church I went to in Como in Italy.
Yes.
And I walked in the church, and all I could feel was depression, because all the people going in there will come bringing their problems into the church, and sitting down and asking God to take their problems away, basically. So
were there people in there at the time doing?
No, I was on my own. The church was empty.
Yeah, this is a different one. This is, you're not responding to the architecture. You're responding to the, like what you would get from psychometry. The
energy
feeling,
within.
Yeah, the feeling of the energy, the emotional energy over the centuries, perhaps, that have infused that building.
Infused into the building, was responding from it, Anyway, that's interesting stuff. So again, it's the energy coming from something and you reacting to the energy, whether it's a painting, music, or whatever it is, as we said. So I thought then, my thinking now is that we maybe talked something about this is probably a bit more esoteric and things like the tarot. Why does the tarot, for example, have why does the symbolism on that mean anything? And I think as most of the listeners will know, that there's books on the tarot give certain meanings and all the rest of it, and they have certain they are meant to mean something. But the real thing about tarot reading is actually, again, what you get off energetically from the picture.
Well, yeah, like I think one way of understanding it is like if you read a classic novel, for example, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, and you read through this, and and it has all sorts of stories about the events that transpire and the way that people feel with those high Russian emotional values, and you respond to that story. And the tarot is similar. It's like a story, but it's a story of a way of understanding the world we live in. And this is where to read this story, you need to be able to read the imagery, not the words written on a piece of paper. And that's where I think once you read the imagery, you, like the reader, constructs the story by responding to those images.
You respond to the images rather than the written words, for example,
Yeah, exactly.
about that particular card.
Yeah.
It's the image you're responding to. It's not to say that by reading the information they're giving, it doesn't affect your response to it, because it may help you in a directional point of view, if you get my drift here.
Well, I think it might be the I Ching, man is not suited to chaos, meaning that we impose rules on the world so that we can deal with it. Complete chaos is meaningless.
Yeah.
And so we have a kind of rule-bound way of constructing a framework of understanding. And then within that framework, we flesh it out. We make it real by looking and interacting with it.
I mean, for example, a card like the Chariot, I remember it's basically a guy driving a chariot. And I always look at that. I mean, for me, the energy from that gives me that the life is pulling you left, right, and centre. You don't know which way to go, and you're like trying to hold a straight line, for example. But again, that all depends on what that's related to in another sense. So on its own, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that it's part of the life cycle. But that whole imagery can shift into something else totally just by looking at that particular card. That might give you the starting point, but it is only the starting point.
It's funny, that's the card that I was thinking about talking about.
There you go.
But, I would, responding to you there, I would look at that card, and depending on circumstances, I would be looking at that, pulling to the left, pulling to the right. Is it, good and bad? Is it the, devil and angel on the shoulders? Or is it the charioteer himself who stands there and he looks so calm, and he's actually guiding, like the Buddhist middle path.
Yeah.
He's being pulled left and right, but he is the guide. He is actually in control. Yeah. And that's, like you say, in the context, I would either be looking, I'd either bring the horses to the fore or bring the charioteer.
Yeah, because the horses might be pulling in different directions, where the charioteer is holding the straight path.
Yeah, so there
or it's a combination of both. It can be anything.
Yeah, there isn't a single recipe of understanding. It's the interaction, and this might be the time of the day, but if I'm doing a reading for somebody, it's my interaction with the card in conjunction with that person.
Yeah. And I mean, then you got the minor arcane, where you got basically you got the wands, the swords, the cups, wands, swords, and cups.
Pentacles.
Pentacles, yeah. I mean, Pentacles seems to be pretty obvious what that's about in general terms. And wands to me means about practical decision and practical stuff rather than anything else.
Well, I don't know that Pentacles is that obvious. Like it's not just money. It is the earth sign, and it's what supports us. And what supports us might be represented as money, Pentacles on the card. But given a circumstance, it might be something else that supports us in our lives. And that's why, again, it's like you see this symbol of the coins, but it doesn't necessarily mean money.
No, but it means, how do you put it?
As I say, what supports us.
Yeah, it's about living through life and whatever. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But we're trying to talk symbols, and to me, for example, swords is more of a mental thing about what's going on. For
The intellect.
Intellect, yeah. That's to me that's
Well,
and that can vary enormously.
Well, the way I see it is it's an air sign.
Yeah.
And it has a sharp edge. And it's like the intellect being able to slice through problems
and it's
clarify.
Double-edged.
Yeah, cuts both ways.
Cuts both ways. This is the symbolism says that.
One can become too engaged in it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
and the cups is about equivalent to hearts, love, but generosity.
It's a water sign.
Water sign.
Yeah,
so
it's
emotional stuff. It's all about that. But the bottom, what I'm getting here is that these are only just symbols which allow you to open up another energy within you to look at something, and it's a combination of symbols. So you might have a cup next to a wand or whatever it may be, and it may be a different number or whatever it may be, but it's a cumulatively energy thing, that symbolic selection, for whatever the words, right?
Yeah.
Creates a meaning in your head, which then for me comes usually in the form of a vision.
Yes, I get that.
And I noticed that the vision, and it's interesting, the vision is 90% times right.
Yeah.
Providing I don't interfere with logic.
Well, yeah. This is where I was going to go. Is like if I were to look at these symbols and rattle off the kind of descriptions I've just been giving. Yeah, it's very linear.
Yeah.
The logical thinking works one thing at a time. But if I look at all the symbols together, like throw them into a pot and cook them up as a stew, it stops being, it's multiple things all together. And for me, it's a feeling. I get a feeling of all of these things working together, and out of that comes the story or the image.
Yeah, and because life is a multiple things happening at once. Actually,
Yeah, exactly.
So your emotions and your logic and your whatever all work together to take you where you think you should be, for example, or you react to the situation depending on all this emotional stuff or practical stuff or whatever it may. You may make a decision in life on a practical basis and emotionally feel awful about it. That does happen, for example.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So
the interesting, I was thinking there from what you were saying about getting an image, is that you look at several images in front of you and create one of your own. Yeah, that's the idea it is that I have, and that image that I create has come out of the way I feel about it, the intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wait for it to appear. I don't create it, like from intellect.
But it's also the energy coming from the person you're reading for.
Oh, yeah.
So that affects, it's a combination of all this stuff, which again is metaphysical because it's nothing to do with the printed card on the table in a sense. All that is a trigger, in my opinion. So it's a trigger to bring this other image, which is the one that matters.
Yeah. And one thing that I find is like having the person in front of me I can deal with. Like trying to read a tarot over the phone or on the computer or something is much more difficult.
Yeah, I found I can do it by video because I can watch the I can watch the expression. It's
you
not as good as one-to-one. Definitely never as good as one-to-one.
Yeah, because
One-to-one, you're actually sharing the energy in that
it's
particular place or room together.
exactly, yeah, the energy, the feel.
To feel, yeah.
Because the feel of the other person is what actually directs the formation of the image. It's what, if I'm reading for someone, I'm not going to, I mean, I get into it, but it's like opening up and saying, okay, tell me, does this mean? And I'm asking my, inner self, what does this mean? Like, what can I say here?
What does this combination of cards mean, for example?
In context.
In context with each other. Why?
And
what is it expressing to me? How do I see it?
Yeah. It is a creative process. That's the big thing, I think, is that for me it's the intellect. Yeah, sure, I can rattle off all sorts of details, but it's not creative in that and I want to say fully present way. That I am fully present and I'm allowing myself to respond openly, without filter, intellectual filter.
I mean, for example, a friend of mine was at an art gallery. I think it was looking at an exhibition, and the artist was there, and they came up and talked to them. But the artist was explaining to my friend how they felt and why they painted that way. It was the inner expression. So she was sharing with the person there what her expression was at the time of happening, and what state of mind she was in at the time.
Yeah.
And that energy goes into the painting. Now, if you're sensitive enough, you pick up on that, but you may not interpret it that way. You may look at it in a different way, because it has to come back to your own experiences and your own emotional situation and state.
Yeah.
And your own energy, for want of a better word.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying about before, like reading something, and what the author intends is not necessarily what I will get in my response to it. Yeah, because I have my experiences and my way of looking at things. I'll go, oh, look at that. Like you're saying with an piece of art, it's the same. It might be, sometimes some trivial little point of it will be perhaps a painful memory from the past, and that will colour my interpretation, or my response rather, to that artwork.
Well, music and songs are exactly the same.
Yes.
Because there'll be a line in a song you equate with some emotional experience you're having at the time.
Positive or negative.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? So I suppose metaphysically what we're saying is symbolism basically allows one to open one's consciousness to another area of one's mind or subconscious mind.
I think what it is when you sort of say open oneself, like it's a thing that we do not do conventionally in our culture. Mm-hmm. And as such, we're stepping outside, what is accepted as normal. And that in itself is like, things are different. I open myself to the new. I then look at the images and examine my response to them. And that's where the metaphysics bit comes in. I don't abandon logic and reason, but I put it to one side and allow life to dictate the response. How does that sound?
Sounds pretty good. A note to finish on, John. Okay, John, well, we're finished there. Thank you very much. I think we've explored that situation further.
Yeah, I think
further.
I feel good about that, yeah.
And I think, hopefully people understand that it's actually quite important for them to actually allow this to happen to them if they can, because their lives will be better because of it.
Oh, yeah.
Though I will add, for example, things like tarot for yourself is a much more difficult situation to...
I would say actually choose the methodology that appeals to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like for me, it's tarot.
Yeah,
It could be numerology, astrology,
palmistry, you name it.
teacups. You know.
Oh yeah, teacups. Teacups are good. Coffee cups are really good. So what you see in the coffee grounds. Woohoo! You never know what you might find there. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. And I thank everybody for listening. And I hope you're enjoying the podcast. And again, if you have any comments or suggestions of what we should talk about, please email us or leave a post on the Spotify or YouTube and let us know.
And the email address is metphyscompanion@gmail.com. That's METPHYS companion@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to speaking to you again.
Okay, and goodbye from me.